Hello everyone, and welcome to my Bold and Beautiful Today channel. Nick proposes to Brooke on with the ring the hospital. Brooke rejects Nick's proposal. Ridge gets angry and slaps Nick. Ridge deceives Taylor. Brooke turns down Nick's proposal, and the deacon throws a party. After Nick Marone's proposal is turned down by Brooke Logan, Deacon Sharp will throw a celebration. Let's discuss what lies ahead on BNB as Ridge Forrester will likewise deceive Taylor Hayes. Nick will use an engagement ring box to surprise Brooke at work during the week of August 11th to 15th. Nick will attempt to persuade Brooke to marry him and begin a new chapter after he opens it and displays the bling. Ridge, though, has Brooke's heart. Ridge might not be able to give Nick the kind of commitment he wants after the way she saved Brooke in Italy. While Ridge sits Taylor down for a crucial conversation, it looks like Brooke will turn down Nick's proposal of marriage. Ridge might intend to share with Taylor the kiss he shared with Brooke following his life-saving intervention. Plans don't always work out on soap operas, of course. Ridge may decide not to follow through on his kiss confession, and even if he does, Taylor can claim it was a heat-of-the-moment moment. In any case, Taylor will say it's time to send Brooke in a different direction and won't remove her engagement ring. Deacon will have a party at Il Giardino later. There will be some kind of celebration, which might include a party to honor Liam Spencer's survival or the success of Forrester's trip to Italy. When Liam was going through it, it all felt very real, even though Grace Buckingham was conducting a hoax. Even though there was never any risk of Liam developing cancer, the fact that he is not dying of it is nevertheless cause for celebration. Naturally, Liam did come dangerously close to death when he confronted Luna Nozawa at the beach house. Thankfully, Liam survived and will now continue to enjoy life to the fullest. Bill Spencer will lose it as soon as he receives information about every aspect of the scheme. Bill will display glimmers of his evil side and promise to ensure Grace pays for this. Lee Finnegan will next be questioned by Sheila Sharp over her motivation for fabricating her granddaughter's death. Sheila will have to hide her identity, even though she will be relieved to have seen Luna for herself. Sheila will be in a difficult situation during the week of August 18th to 22nd since she will be unable to avoid Lee's house. Sheila might insist on helping Lee take care of Luna, and eventually they'll both have questions when Luna comes out of her coma. This can cause Sheila to conceal a significant secret, which could ultimately harm her marriage. Since Ridge will be slow to get back together romantically, Brooke will be stuck yearning for him. That will be because Ridge is worried that his announcement may upset Taylor and result in a medical setback. Though it will take a little longer than fans may have expected, Ridge and Brooke's reunion is still imminent. Nick suggests. While Taylor Hayes tries to talk Ridge Forrester out of it, Nick Marone pops the question. Let's discuss the upcoming events in the CBS soap opera as you continue reading. Nick Marone suggests. Nick, who has an engagement ring box, should come first. Brooke Logan's mouth drops when he opens it. It doesn't have to be over for them, the sailor begs Brooke. However, if Brooke can agree to the plan, it might be the start. Naturally, Brooke will have to make a difficult choice. Ridge did save her from drowning, after all. However, Taylor is not going to let Ridge leave without a fight. Taylor Hayes rejects. Taylor, that leads us to our next point. Taylor tries to talk Ridge out of getting back together with Brooke in the teaser clip for the week of August 11th. According to the psychiatrist, Brooke has a future, just not with her fiancé. She continues by saying that she will not be removing her ring. Ridge appears to be feeling heavy and is not grinning. We shall so observe Ridge's decision regarding this matter. Brooke Logan, a woman perpetually caught in the crossfire of her own tumultuous heart. Her journey begins not with joy, but with a diamond glinting under the unforgiving fluorescent lights of her office, wielded like a weapon of hope by the steadfast Nick Marone. The week of August 11th dawns with Nick, driven by a love both profound and perhaps increasingly desperate, orchestrating an ambush proposal. He presents the ring box not just as jewelry, but as a lifeline, a tangible promise to kickstart a blissful new chapter far removed from the gravitational pull of the Forresters. His words are earnest, pleading, envisioning a future built on their shared history and his unwavering devotion. Yet, as the diamond catches the light, its brilliance illuminates not Brooke's acceptance, but the profound conflict within her soul. The memory of Ridge Forrester, her Ridge, charging to her rescue amidst the romantic ruins of Italy is a phantom limb she cannot ignore. The sheer, primal force of his presence in her moment of peril reignited a flame that Nick's steady warmth, however comforting, cannot extinguish. Her heart, that treacherous organ forever loyal to Ridge despite the scars he inflicts, screams its allegiance. The commitment Nick seeks, the promise of forever bound solely to him, is a shackle she cannot, will not, bear. With a tremor in her voice that belies the steel in her resolve, Brooke delivers the crushing blow, a rejection as inevitable as it is devastating, leaving Nick adrift in the wreckage of his hopeful future while Brooke remains tethered, yearning, to a man wrestling with his own demons across town. For Ridge Forrester, Brooke's rejection of Nick should be a clarion call, a green light to finally claim the woman he has fought for, lost, and seemingly reclaimed time and again. Yet, Ridge is a man perpetually ensnared in the intricate web of his own making, where honor and desire wage a brutal civil war. While Brooke grapples with Nick's shattered proposal, Ridge seeks out Taylor Hayes, the elegant psychiatrist and his current fiancé, the emerald symbol of their renewed commitment glinting accusingly on her finger. His intention, fueled by a flicker of guilt or perhaps a misguided sense of obligation, is to confess the seismic kiss shared with Brooke in the turbulent aftermath of the Italian rescue, a kiss born of adrenaline, relief, and the undeniable, decades-old magnetism between them. He prepares to lay bare this transgression, perhaps hoping for absolution or understanding. But the path of brutal honesty is treacherous on the sun-drenched shores of soap opera life. Ridge, confronted by Taylor's poised presence, the weight of her trust, and the specter of her fragile history with mental health setbacks, hesitates. The confession stalls on his lips. Even if the words do escape, Taylor, the master rationalizer, is primed to counter. She'll likely frame the kiss as a mere physiological reaction, a heat-of-the-moment lapse in judgment spurred by the life-or-death intensity of the situation, utterly devoid of deeper meaning threatening their carefully reconstructed future. Her response is chillingly decisive, the engagement ring stays firmly in place. Taylor's solution is not introspection or addressing Ridge's wavering heart, but removal. She coolly, clinically, suggests it's high time to permanently reroute Brooke Logan down another romantic path, far away from Ridge and their impending marriage, a solution as neat as it is utterly divorced from the messy reality of Ridge's profound, unresolved connection to Brooke. This calculated dismissal is Ridge's tacit permission slip for deception. His silence, or the downplaying of the kiss's significance, becomes the first brick in a wall of lies he builds between himself and Taylor, even as he yearns for Brooke. Meanwhile, amidst the emotional wreckage of rejected proposals and fractured engagements, a beacon of chaotic normalcy emerges, Deacon Sharp's party at Il Giardino. Ever the pragmatist and opportunist, Deacon seizes upon the need for levity, or perhaps simply an excuse to gather the volatile players under one roof. The exact nature of the celebration buzzes with possibilities. Is it a toast to Forrester Creations pulling victory from the jaws of the Italian disaster? Or, more poignantly, a raucous celebration of life itself, specifically Liam Spencer's miraculous non-demise? The elaborate, cruel scam orchestrated by Grace Buckingham, the fake terminal cancer diagnosis that plunged Liam into existential terror, may have been a grotesque fiction, but the trauma Liam endured was horrifyingly real. The revelation that he isn't dying is cause for unadulterated euphoria, a second chance ripped from the jaws of a fabricated tragedy. Deacon's party becomes the designated pressure valve, a place to channel the collective relief. Liam, having also narrowly escaped actual death at Luna Nozawa's hands at the beach house, a stark reminder that real danger lurked amidst the fake, embodies this carpe diem spirit, determined to wring every drop from his reprieve. However, the festive atmosphere is destined to curdle. When Bill Spencer, Liam's volatile father, receives the full, sordid details of Grace's scam, the psychological torture inflicted upon his son, his legendary temper detonates. The charming facade shatters, revealing flashes of the ruthless, sinister Bill of old. His vow to make Grace pay isn't an idle threat, it's a dark promise that hangs heavy over the celebratory chatter, a storm cloud threatening the party's fragile sunshine. Adding another layer of furtive tension is the unexpected, deeply uneasy alliance forming elsewhere. Sheila Sharp, Deacon's famously unstable mother, confronts Lee Finnegan with predatory curiosity. Having miraculously discovered Luna alive, despite Lee's elaborate ruse faking her granddaughter's death, Sheila's relief is genuine, but her motives remain shrouded in her characteristic manipulative fog. The week of August 18 tightens the noose. Sheila, unable to resist the vortex of drama surrounding Luna's fragile state, inserts herself into Lee's life, potentially insisting on helping care for the comatose young woman. This forced proximity is a powder keg. When Luna inevitably emerges from her coma, disoriented and demanding answers about her death and recovery, Sheila finds herself privy to dangerous secrets Lee desperately needs kept. The weight of this knowledge, the temptation to use it, or the sheer burden of silence to protect her own tenuous position, becomes an unbearable load. Keeping Lee's monumental lie about Luna's demise secret isn't just stressful, it's corrosive, a toxin guaranteed to seep into Sheila's already precarious marriage to Deacon, threatening the fragile stability he's fought so hard to build, perhaps even turning his celebratory party into a potential stage for her unraveling. Back in the gilded cage of Forrester, Brooke Logan, having decisively closed the door on Nick's future, finds herself adrift in a torturous limbo. Her heart beats solely for Ridge, a truth etched into her very being by his heroic actions in Italy. Yet, the reunion she craves, the passionate culmination of decades of love and conflict, remains agonizingly out of reach. Ridge, paralyzed by the consequences of his own inaction and deception, drags his feet. His fear is multifaceted, the terror of shattering Taylor's heart and world for what feels like the 100th time, and the very real, very legitimate dread of triggering another devastating medical or psychological setback in the woman he once loved deeply and still feels responsible for. He's trapped between the magnetic pull of destiny with Brooke and the crushing weight of potential catastrophe his honesty, or lack thereof, could unleash on Taylor. So Brooke waits, her longing a palpable force, watching the man she loves remain tethered to another by guilt and fear, while Taylor, confident in her engagement ring and her rationalization of the Italy kiss, remains blissfully, dangerously unaware of the emotional bomb ticking beneath her meticulously rebuilt life. The cruel irony is suffocating. Brooke's rejection of Nick was supposed to clear the path, but Ridge's paralyzing indecision and the web of deceit he's spinning around Taylor only thickens the brambles separating them. The audience, privy to the undeniable, almost gravitational pull between Ridge and Brooke, knows their reunion pulses with the inevitability of a tidal wave, a force of nature that cannot be permanently denied. Yet, the path forward is obscured by Ridge's self-imposed obstacles, Taylor's determined blindness, and the sheer emotional fallout yet to rain down from the secrets festering at Il Giardino and in Lee Finnegan's sterile living room. The party Deacon hosts, intended as a celebration, becomes merely a glittering intermission, a brief pause before the next, even more devastating act unfolds, proving that in the world of the bold and the beautiful, rejection is merely the prelude, deception the dangerous dance, and celebration often just the eye of the storm. The reunion is coming, but the collateral damage wrought by Ridge's delay and deceit promises to be catastrophic, ensuring the journey back to each other will be paved with even more heartbreak than either Brooke or Ridge could have possibly anticipated. Nick Marone, the rugged seaman whose love for Brooke Logan had weathered storms both literal and emotional, stood before her, vulnerability warring with determination in his sea-gray eyes. In a moment stripped bare of pretense, his calloused hand, accustomed to wrestling ropes and navigating treacherous currents, trembled almost imperceptibly as he retrieved a small, velvet box from his pocket. The simple act of flicking it open resonated like a thunderclap in the charged silence between them, revealing a diamond solitaire that caught the California light, scattering fractured rainbows across Brooke's stunned face. Her breath hitched audibly, a soft gasp escaping her lips as her famously expressive jaw went slack, disbelief momentarily freezing her features into a mask of pure astonishment. This wasn't a whispered endearment or a tentative reconciliation, this was a full-throated declaration launched directly into the heart of their fractured relationship, a desperate bid to salvage a future Nick refused to believe was lost. His voice, usually laced with a sailor's easy confidence, now carried the raw plea of a man staring down the abyss of loneliness. "Brooke," he implored, the single word weighted with oceans of longing, "it doesn't have to be over for us. Look at this, look at us. This could be it, Brooke. This could just be the beginning." He held the ring aloft, a tiny, glittering symbol of hope against the vast, complicated tapestry of their past, his gaze boring into hers, willing her to see the possibility he so fiercely clung to. If you can accept this. Say yes. Let's start again, properly. Please. The diamond seemed to pulse with its own light, demanding an answer, forcing Brooke's world, already precariously balanced on the knife edge of recent trauma and rekindled old passions, into a dizzying spin. Her mind became a whirlpool, violently churning the immediate, visceral shock of Nick's proposal against the monumental, life-altering event that had reshaped her reality just days prior. Ridge Forrester, her ex-fiancé, the architect of so much joy and pain, plunging into the churning Pacific without a second thought, his strong arms pulling her gasping and terrified from the suffocating embrace of the sea. That act, a selfless, instinctive dive into peril, wasn't just a rescue, it was a seismic event that cracked open the carefully constructed walls around Brooke's heart, flooding her with a torrent of unresolved feelings, profound gratitude, and the terrifying whisper of what if, that she had tried so hard to silence. Ridge, had literally saved her life. How could she simply turn away from the gravity of that? How could she dismiss the undeniable, primal connection reignited in that moment of shared survival? Yet here was Nick, steadfast Nick, who had offered her stability and a different kind of love, laying his heart bare, offering a future built on their foundation, not the crumbling ruins of bridge. The ring box in his hand felt less like an offering and more like an anvil, its weight settling directly onto her chest, compressing her lungs, making rational thought an impossible luxury. This was no mere romantic dilemma, it was an existential crossroads, forcing her to choose not just between two men, but between two distinct futures, two versions of herself, the woman who sought safe harbor with Nick, and the woman forever drawn to the tempestuous, all-consuming flame of Ridge. Every instinct warred within her, the deep affection and loyalty she felt for Nick, the man who had stood by her, clashed violently against the soul-deep, gravitational pull towards Ridge, amplified 1,000-fold by his heroic act. The diamond sparkle seemed to mock the turmoil within her, reflecting not hope, but the fractured pieces of her own indecision. Her hand fluttered nervously near her throat, fingers brushing against the hollow where her pulse hammered a frantic rhythm against her skin, a physical manifestation of the chaos reigning inside. To say yes to Nick felt like turning her back on a profound, life-altering truth revealed in the ocean's depths. To say no felt like spurning a genuine, enduring love offered with heartbreaking sincerity. The silence stretched, thick and suffocating, punctuated only by the frantic drumming of her own heart and Nick's anxious, expectant gaze, waiting for a verdict that Brooke felt utterly unequipped to deliver, her mind paralyzed by the sheer, overwhelming magnitude of the choice before her. Simultaneously, miles away yet intrinsically bound to Brooke's paralyzing indecision, another critical scene unfolded, radiating its own potent brand of tension within the elegant, subdued confines of Taylor Hayes's psychiatrist's office, a space usually dedicated to soothing troubled minds, now crackling with the electric current of personal desperation. Taylor, impeccably poised yet radiating an intensity that belied her calm exterior, faced Ridge Forrester, her ex-husband, the father of her children, and the man whose recent heroic act threatened to unravel the fragile threads of their own renewed commitment. The preview clip for the upcoming week promised a confrontation, and Taylor delivered, not with hysterics, but with the sharp, clinical precision of a surgeon wielding a scalpel, her words carefully chosen to dissect Ridge's wavering resolve. Her eyes, usually pools of compassionate understanding, held a steely determination as she launched her counter-offensive against the powerful emotional pull Brooke now exerted over him. Ridge, she began, her voice low and steady, yet carrying an undeniable urgency, what Brooke experienced, the fear, the relief, it's understandable, profoundly so. It creates a powerful bond in the moment, a surge of intense feeling. She paused, letting the acknowledgement hang in the air, validating his actions before delivering the crucial, undermining blow. But Ridge, she continued, leaning forward slightly, her gaze locking onto his, refusing to let him look away, that bond, that feeling, it's born of crisis. It's adrenaline. It's gratitude magnified 1,000 times by circumstance. It doesn't automatically translate to a sustainable future. She emphasized the word sustainable, imbuing it with the weight of reality, of mortgages and daily routines and the inevitable fading of post-traumatic euphoria. Brooke has a future, Taylor stated firmly, her conviction absolute, a bright one, I'm sure. But Ridge, and here her voice dropped, becoming almost intimate, laced with painful certainty, it's not with you. Not as your fiancé. Not as your wife. The finality in her tone was chilling. She wasn't presenting an opinion, she was stating a truth she believed with every fiber of her being, a truth rooted in their shared history, her knowledge of Brooke's patterns, and her own desperate need to protect the life she was rebuilding with Ridge. Then, in a move both defensive and defiant, Taylor's hand lifted almost unconsciously, her fingers touching the exquisite diamond engagement ring Ridge had placed back on her finger, a symbol of their own fragile, hard-won reunion. She declared, her voice gaining strength, resonating with unwavering resolve, am not taking this ring off. The gesture was potent, a silent scream of possession and commitment, a physical anchor thrown against the powerful tide pulling Ridge back towards Brooke. She held his gaze, her own unwavering, projecting an image of steadfast loyalty, of partnership, of the stable, understood love they shared, contrasting it sharply with the chaotic, crisis-fueled intensity of Brooke's current hold on him. She was presenting herself as the harbor, the safe port after the storm Brooke represented. And Ridge? Ridge Forrester, the man caught in this agonizing emotional crossfire, stood before her, a portrait of conflicted torment. His trademark confident swagger was absent, replaced by a palpable heaviness that seemed to bow his broad shoulders. His brow was deeply furrowed, etched with lines of profound stress and confusion. He didn't smile, he barely seemed to breathe. Taylor's words, logical and sharp, warred violently with the visceral, undeniable echo of Brooke's terrified eyes meeting his in the churning water, the feel of her trembling body pressed against his as he hauled her to safety, the raw, unspoken connection that had flared back to life in that instant of shared mortality. He looked less like a man contemplating a choice and more like Atlas buckling under the weight of two worlds, the comfortable, familiar promise of stability and family with Taylor crashing against the powerful, primal, and terrifyingly uncertain siren call of Brooke, amplified by his own heroism and the profound vulnerability he'd witnessed and rescued. The silence that followed Taylor's declaration was thick and oppressive, heavy with the unspoken question, could logic, history, and the promise of peace with Taylor possibly outweigh the overwhelming emotional tsunami unleashed by saving Brooke's life? Ridge's expression, etched with profound weariness and indecision, offered no easy answer, only the promise of agonizing turmoil in the days to come. The preview clip ended not with resolution, but with this excruciating cliffhanger, Ridge, visibly burdened, staring into an uncertain future, the glittering diamonds on two different women's fingers symbolizing the impossible choice tearing him apart, while Brooke remained frozen before Nick, the seaman's hopeful, desperate proposal hanging unanswered in the charged air, her own future dangling precariously over the same emotional abyss. The stage was set for a week of agonizing decisions, desperate pleas, and the inevitable fallout as these intertwined destinies hurtled towards a collision that promised to reshape the landscape of their lives forever.